Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear students, in this session I'm discussing the issue of endogeneity in regression model. So before discussing endogeneity, I'm just assuming you are knowing the basic concept of the OLS, the ordinary least square method. And this is a method you students you know is just used for the purpose of estimating the parameter of regression model such as beta naught, beta 1 and beta 2. And there are many methods which are used for this purpose, but the OLS is one among them. So you can say the ordinary least square method is just estimating these parameters by minimizing the sum of square errors. And this is a concept we have already discussed in our previous sessions in greater detail, right? So today we are talking about the OLS, that this OLS is not indeed the appropriate and good model unless there are certain assumptions and conditions they are met. In those assumptions and conditions, they are called the classical linear regression model assumptions. So these assumptions are also known by the Gauss-Markov assumptions. So we have almost 1 to 8 assumptions. If these assumptions are violated, then you can say the OLS is not the true OLS. Or you can say the OLS is just not giving you these coefficients or estimators right in appropriate manner. So you can say in that situation, the beta naught and the beta 1, they are not truly representing their population counterpart. So technically, dear students, if the classical linear regression assumptions are met, then the OLS is blue. And by the blue, we mean simply the blue stand for the best, right, linear and unbiased. So you can say these are 3 properties of OLS. And the OLS is only blue with these properties if these classical linear regression model assumptions are not violated or these assumptions are met. Okay, what do we really mean by this, dear students? As you know, the OLS is just estimating these parameters. So if it is blue, it means the parameters such as beta 1, for example, that is best. And by the best, we mean the variance of the coefficient estimated beta 1 is minimum. Why? Because if the variance is high, so you can say the standard error is high, right? In that situation, the prediction is not precise, or you cannot rely upon the relationship. So the higher variance is really not good. So in the blue OLS, what is the situation? The parameter beta 1 is just having the minimum variance, right? Okay, the second condition is linear. We say the estimators we have in the models, they are the linear function of the model. So the linearity is only observed, or you can say only possible, if the OLS is just meeting these assumptions. Inshallah, we are talking all about these assumptions, but today we are only talking about one assumption here, okay? Okay, the third property is unbiased. We can say this B1 is just correctly representing the average. If you just draw many B1, or you can say many coefficients from the population using sample, so this is just representing the average. Or technically you can say the beta 1 are the expected value of beta 1 head that is just equal to the beta 1 of the population. So simply you can say by the unbiased, we mean this is just the correct average of all the coefficients we have. This is just truly representing the population counterpart, dear students, okay? So once again, I'm just briefly concluding. According to the CLRM assumption, the classical linear regression model assumption, why it's called classical linear regression model? Because if these assumptions are met, then the regression is just considered the classical regression model. In that situation, the OLS is blue. The OLS is just best, linear, and unbiased. So you can say in that situation, the relationship, the regression is just giving you that is true and representative of the population. Okay, before regression, dear students, when you just run the OLS to find out or estimate these coefficients, you must check whether the OLS is just meeting these assumptions or not. Among these assumptions, dear students, today we are just talking about one of them, which is endogeneity in the regression model. So according to the classical linear regression model, there should be no endogeneity in the model. Okay, what do we mean by endogeneity, right? Endogeneity simply, dear students, mean that in the model, the independent variables we have such as x1 or we have x2 or x3, these independent variables must not be related or correlated with the error terms. Why? Because if these independent variables are any of these independent variables just correlated with the error terms, then this is the issue of endogeneity. And that is the problem indeed. Why? Because if you just try to find out the isolated individual effect of independent variable, then it should be not correlated with the error term. And if you remember, we have already discussed the example in the class. if y, for example, is GPA and the x1 is just the study hour, right? So the study hour should not be just correlated with the error terms, such as, for example, the stress, right? Or it should not be correlated with the parental pressure or the IQ. Why? Because the stress and the parental pressure and the IQ is just affecting the study hour. And when the study R is just affected by any other unobserved factors in the U term, then you cannot say the relationship or the effect of the X on the Y is just true. In that situations, you cannot find out the isolated individual effect of the X if the X is just correlated with the error terms. So today you are learning how to find out whether your model is just having endogeneity issue. One thing, dear students, if you remember, if the X is just fixed in that situation, there is no way possible these independent variables are just correlated with the error term. And that is if the X is just set by the researcher, right? In that situation, there is no possibility. But if the X is just random and stochastic, in that situation, there is more possibility it's just related with some other unobserved error terms we have, okay? So now you're just learning, if you have a data sets before running the regression, you should identify whether you have endogeneity issue or not. Okay, how you can find out the endogeneity response? Okay, today we have a practical example for our scenario. So this is our dependent variable, the profitability or dependent variable, and we have marketing, spending, budget allocation, and firm size. These are independent variable. But I'm just interested to know how the marketing spending is affecting the profitability. So that's why I'm just hiding this in independent variable for a while. So we have two independent variable, the firm size, right, which is I've just taken as a control variable, and this is a variable of my interest. I'm just trying to figure out how the marketing spending is affecting the profitability, right, controlling for a firm size. And the firm size is just indicating the number of employees. So the high number of employees is showing the firm size is big, and the lower number of employees is indicating the firm size is smaller. So before running regression, dear students, I'm just suspecting this independent variable, which is the marketing spending, this is endogenous variable. Why? Because I'm just thinking there are many other unobserved factors which are part of the error, dear students, may influence the marketing spending, such as the policies of the business, the strategies we have, or if a business is just launching a new product or promoting for a new product. All of these activities is kind of just affecting the marketing spending. This is quite obvious, students, right? So if this is the situation, you can say this marketing spending independent variable is endogenous variable. Why? Because you cannot find out the isolated or individual effect of the marketing spend in the true way once this is just related with some other unobserved factors in the error term. So conclusion, dear student, I'm just suspecting, I'm just thinking this independent variable is endogenous, but I'm not sure. That's why we are just using some method and test to identify whether we have the endogenous independent variable or not. So what are the steps, dear students? Look here. How to check for endogeneity in data. So the first step is find an instrumental variable. Okay, for in the process of identifying the endogeneity, students, you should find out the instrumental variable. So what is instrumental variable? Instrumental variable is a variable which is just correlated with the endogenous variable but not correlated with the error term, right? What is the problem of endogeneity, right? In the problem of endogeneity, you can say the endogenous variable is just correlated with the error term, but the instrumented variable is that independent variable which is just correlated with the marketing spending but not correlated with the error term, unlike marketing spending which is endogenous correlated with the error term, but the instrumental variable that is only correlated with the marketing spending. So another way, dear students, you can say the instrumental variable, that is a variable which is just influencing the marketing spending, right, but not directly influencing the profitability. You can say that is just indirectly affecting the profitability. So we can say the instrumental variable in that situation is exogenous variable, right? So why exogenous? Because it's just influencing the marketing spending, not affecting the profitability directly, or it's not correlated with the error term, just correlated with the marketing spending resistance, right? Okay. So what is the method? You should just find out one more independent variable for this endogenous variable, that is instrumental. In our situation, I just found out we have one independent variable, and that is the budget allocation. Why this is instrumental? Why? Because the budget allocation is influencing the marketing spend, right? But not directly influencing the profitability. In our situation, we say that according to the rule, the budget allocation is just fixed and that is just not affecting the profitability. In the budget allocation is just affecting the marketing spending. Or you can say the budgeting allocation is just not correlated with the error term, only correlated with the marketing spending. So that's why we say this is the instrumental variable. So instead of method, dear students, are just checking the endogeneity, so you should find out the instrumental variable for the endogenous variable, and this is what we have found it, right? Okay, so the first step is just find out the instrumental variable if we found it, and that is the budget allocation. And keep in mind, dear students, in order for the budget allocation or instrumental variable to be valid, there are two conditions. One is relevance, one is exogeneity. Relevance means this budget allocation should be correlated with the marketing spending, and that is just the definition of instrumental variable. And the second is this budget allocation should not be correlated with the error, and this is what is called exogeneity. The IVR, you can say the instrumental variable must not be correlated with the error term. So the covariance between Z is just representing the instrumental variable, so the instrumental variable should not be correlated with U, so you can see the covariance should be 0. Okay, you have just learned the concept, dear students, right? If you just suspect in your model there is any independent variable you think is endogenous, then you should find out the instrumental variable for that, and that is a variable which is just correlated with the endogenous variable and not correlated with the error term. And once you find out this variable, right, then the next step is just, dear students, use the Stera or any other software to identify or find out the endogeneity. So now here we are just using the Stera. Okay, this is the Stera software, dear students. You must have a Stera software with you. Just go to the file, and here I'm just importing. Why? Because the data I have in Excel. So click on this and click on the browse, and from here I'm just choosing my file. In the file I have that is endogeneity, right? And click on the open and click on the import first row as a variable names, and do not click this one. Okay, why? Because this is just importing the value as a string. Inshallah, I'll explain this. Just click on the OK. Look, dear students, these are just irrelevant informations we have. This is the data we need. Okay, this profitability is our dependent variable, the marketing spending, budget allocation, the firm sizes, these are our independent variable. Now, when you just try to check whether you have endogeneity or not, then in the first step, dear students, you should find out the relevance of the instrumental variable with the endogenous variable. So this budget allocation, our example, this is instrumental variable, and the marketing spending, this is the endogenous variable. And for this variable, you should regress the marketing spending on the budget allocation in the firm size, and you should not include the profitability. So instead of, dear students, when you just run the regression command, right, regressions, just you should type regression in the command line and then space what is your dependent variable. In our situation now, just take the marketing spending and as a dependent variable, and take the budget allocation, the firm size as an independent variable. Okay, dear students, our purpose here is just we are regressing the marketing spending and the budget allocation from size. We are assuming the marketing spending here is now for the time being is dependent variable. Why? Because we are just checking the relevance. The first condition, which is the relevance, and the relevance means that there should be relationship. It means the budgeting allocation is just influencing the marketing spend. So for this purpose, I'm just running one regression to check whether really the budget allocation is influencing the marketing spend. So that's why you should consider marketing spend for right for this situation, the dependent variable, right? And the budget allocation is our independent variable, and firm size I've just taken as a control variable, and just press enter, response, right? Now, if you just check the F statistic, the F value is just showing 0.00. It's mean the model is overall significant. But here the budget allocation to your students value is also significant. So you can say there is the positive relationship between the budget allocation and marketing spending, and this relationship is just significant. You can say yes, the budget allocation is just affecting the marketing spending, and that is just a purpose we just try to find out. The first step here, dear students, is just to find out whether really the budget allocation is just influencing the marketing spend. And yes, we found out the result, and it's just saying the p-value is less than 0.05. So the first condition here, which is the relevancy resistance, we found that yes, the budgeting allocation is instrumental variable because it is affecting the marketing spend. Okay, the second point here, students, just we are now checking whether there is endogeneity or not. For the second purpose, just come into the statistic. Here we have endogenous covariates, and click on the single equation instrumental variable regression. And here choose your dependent variable. So our dependent variable, dear students, is profitability. Okay, we have independent variables, which is marketing spending and budget allocation and firm size. But among these independent variables, which one is a variable which is just independent but not endogenous in instrumental? So we have only firm size. So choose the firm size here. Okay. Now next you should choose here the endogenous variable. So the endogenous variable we have, that is the marketing spending. This is what I'm just suspecting is endogenous, right? And next I have instrumental variables. So in our situation, I've just checked the relevance, and we found out that yes, the instrumental variable is the budget allocation resource. Once again, here just you put the independent variable that is neither endogenous nor instrumental, right? All those independent variables should be put here. Only the endogenous variable and instrumental variable should be brought here. And just select the two-stage least square method, right? And click the submit. And this method, dear students, this is called the 2SLS method, or two-stage least square method. Okay, you should learn this. For checking the endogeneity, we are just using in Excel the two-stage least square method, right? Because it has two stages. Okay, just click on this submit and okay. Now, dear students, here this is the regression after just we are considering the endogeneity. We are just assuming that there is endogeneity and we have some endogeneity issue, right? So that's why we have taken the marketing spending, and this is our endogenous variable. And this variable, dear students, the marketing spending, this is instrumented by the budget allocation. Okay, once again, I'm just repeating. This is the normal regression, and this is a regression where I'm just assuming we have endogeneity. So according to this output, you can say the marketing spending, dear students, this is just 1.59. This is the coefficient. You can say a unit increase in marketing spending is just leading to 1.59 unit increase in the profitability, right? And this is just relationship is significant. Okay, this regression output is only worth consideration, dear students, if there is endogeneity, but still we don't know whether we have endogeneity or not. So for the third step, we just try to confirm whether we have endogeneity or not. So you should just run state, right? And you should type endogenous. Okay, now after running the endogenous, this is, dear students, you can say the Durbin-Hassman test simply, and this test is just telling us whether we have endogeneity issue or not. Just look into the null hypothesis. The variables are exogenous. So the normal default claim is that the variable are exogenous. But the p-value, dear students, our alternative hypothesis, we say that the model is endogenous and the p-value is just 0.00, which is less than 0.05. Then yes, in this situation, we say we are rejecting the null hypothesis, right? And just claiming that yes, the model is endogenous. Once again, dear students, when you are just running the Durbin-Hassman test, which is the E-state, you should type E-state in endogenous. Then if the p-value is less than 0.05, in that situations you should reject the null hypothesis and just state that the model is endogenous, right? You can say there is yes endogeneity issues. So now if there is endogeneity resistance, then you should just consider this output. You should use this output for your regression analysis or your research work. The normal regression is not accepted. Why? Because this is regression which is just based on the endogeneity issue. There is instrumental variable, right? This is a special two-stage least two SLS or two-stage least squares method regression output research. Hopefully the idea is clear. But one more thing, dear students, right? There is just one another test. That's just to check whether the instrumental variable is strongly relevant or not. If you remember, just previously we have used the method, and here we have just checked whether the marketing spending is just affecting, sorry, in the previous one here, just we are checking here whether the budgeting allocation is just affecting the marketing spending or not, and we found out yes, affecting, so there is relevance. If you just trying to check whether this relevance is really strong or not, so we have one more step, and that is just you should type E state, right, in first stage. Okay, E stage, first stage. Okay, in the E state, first stage, dear students, we have the Stock-Hugo rule. According to the Stock-Hugo rule, if the F value, this value, right, if it is just less than 10, sorry, if it is just more than 10, then yes, you can say the instrumental variable that is just strongly relevant, or you can say the relevance of the instrumental variable to the endogenous variable is just strong. If this F value is just high than 10, okay. This value is also called the eigenvalue statistic value is 64.94, and I've just explained that if this value is just higher than 10, this is higher than 10, yes, we can claim the strength or the relevance is just strong, okay. So we have the two SLS size of nominal 5% here. This means that if you just want 10% error, then the eigenvalue, the eigenvalue resolution should be just higher than 16.38. And if you just want 15% error, then the eigenvalue should be higher than from the 8.96. It should be in this interval between the 16.38 and 8.96, right? So as the eigenvalue 64.945, this is higher than 16.38 resonance. So we say there only 10% error we are just accepting. So conclusion resonance, you can say here, the instrumental or the instrument is not weak. What is the null hypothesis here? Instrument is weak, but since the F value is just greater than 10, then we say the instrument is really strong, and the instrumental variable is just strongly related to the variable of to the endogenous variable, right? So this is just, you can just check what is the R square total variation of instrumental variations, right? How much variation the instrumental variable is just explaining in the endogenous variable, right? Okay, this was all about the endogeneity. In the endogeneity, there are 3 steps practically have to check your students. In the first step, you have learned here. In that step, you should run the regression. In that regression, you should just check the relevancy, whether the budget allocation is related to the marketing spending or not. And for that, we are just running simple regression here. The marketing spending, we are just regressing the marketing spending on the budget allocations. When we found out the p-value is less than 0.05, it means the instrument is just relevant. In the second step, you should just run the IV regressions, right? And that is just, you can use the menu and also just put the command here, IV regress, and just you should type 2SLS, right? And this profitability and firm size and all your dependent variable you should write first, and your independent variable, and then the instrumental variable and the endogenous variable should be taken in the bracket in this way, right? So first you should write the marketing spend, this is our endogenous variable, and that should be equal to the instrumental variable. So you can use this command, and also you can use menu response. Hopefully the concept is just clear, and you have learned how to find out the endogeneity. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.